Hello, hello, my green skin. Oh, wait, that's your channel.
Hey. So today we're doing a retrospective of Dredd versus Judge Dredd. Other than we will be honest, we had to stop and redo another video because of an emergency on my end. We won't get into that. But let us break it down. Everything's fine. We're all good. Let's get going. So, how do you feel about Judge Dredd the movie?
Okay,
Sylvester Stallone.
Sylvester Stallone, Judge Dredd. Okay,
Yeah.
um, I
Let's
okay,
call it let's call it Stallone's Dread and then the Dread.
yeah,
Because
that
it's
that
gonna get
actually
confusing.
that actually shows what the
Simplify.
difference is because Stallone was a big star in the '90s and the '80s, and um, obviously this is the original Judge Dredd. The Stallone Dredd is popular mainly because it's a Stallone movie.
Hello
That's
movie. Yeah, exactly. It really does have that sad thing where we have unfortunately a good movie with a sad fact that unfortunately it has an actor that just outshined it. And that's the sad thing. A lot of people say it's a mediocre movie. And I would go mediocre for that era. We're talking 80s, 90s movie here. We're talking the OG original era stuff. And, you know, uh, what else is there to go with that? Like, that's the problem with it. We have ourselves a nice movie that unfortunately gets burned away by its star. Like this is a movie, and that's the sad thing with it, right? Like, how did you feel the same way?
I mean for the second movie
No, for Judge Dredd,
for
the
Judge Dredd.
Stallone Dredd.
Yeah, like I said, I went into this thing mainly because it's a Stallone movie. I don't know anything about the comic
Yeah,
that it's based on. It didn't even make me want to pick up the comic and read
the
it.
comment. Yeah, and that's we'll get to that when we talked about other thing, and that's the same thing. You just think of this as a Sylvester Stallone movie, not that this is a Judge Dredd. That's the sad fact. This is a character, Judge Dredd, is actually a very good character. He's always been a good character. And it's just kind of sad because he gets eaten away by the star power and the Hollywood that was it. And that's the funny thing. We make the joke about which movies David. I made the joke about which movies David and Goliath, and it literally is. If you look at the budgets of both movies, well, who wins out there, the OG Dread or the new Dread? Well, I would say unfortunately, the other movie beats the budget by a grand mile, and that's sad. And that is really sad that it beats the movie out, and that shouldn't be that way, right? Like that's kind of the annoying thing about this movie. It's this sad fact that this movie was a good movie that unfortunately had a hero that you can't. It had a man that unfortunately is impossible to deal with when it comes to this. Like he's just the Goliath of the movie, right?
Yes, I mean it's Sylvester Stallone. I mean I
It's
think he's
Sylvester
a
Stallone.
I think he's
Now
a
here's
great
the stats.
actor. He's a great action
Yeah.
hero, probably the best
hmm
ever in my opinion, or at least among the best.
I would say up into his unfortunate list with the Expendables. That's when I stopped caring. Like he needs to retire. He's at that he's at that point for me. A retirement seems like a better option than what exists now. Because this is bad, right?
Oh, don't get me started. I mean, I think he's reached the point that the same as George Lucas did, where he thinks all the new techniques is just better just because it's new. In this case,
Yeah.
he loves shaky cam.
hmm
Thankfully, he didn't utilize shaky cam much in the last two Rambos, but it's very, very, very prominent in the Expendables.
Yep. And that's the thing. We got, and that's the funny thing about Sylvester Stallone. Now let's break it down. We're talking about Stallone, but because this is technically going to be a Stallone month. We're gonna do another month of just us randomly doing Stallone movies. But we wanted to do a nice little treat for the beginning. And that's the thing about this. What did you think of the music of this original Judge Dredd?
Generic '90s adventure action scores. This was around when things were changing because in the '80s they had licensed music and they also had music composed for the movie. Like they had some really great tunes for each movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not for each movie. The best movies had great tunes, but
Yeah,
here it's like, it it's not something I'd want to download and listen to.
yeah,
If
it's very orchestra, isn't it? It's like that,
Yeah,
bam, ba ba da bam, ba ba. And that's the sad thing about this movie, is it takes from other movies. It's so cookie cutter in some ways. It's kind of sad, eh?
oh yeah, Blade Runner meets Terminator meets
Peter
what else?
meets, yeah. Now there is some cool stuff. We can't deny. There's animatronics in this movie. They have some good green screen effects,
Oh yeah, definitely. Uh,
and it's good. Go
it's
ahead.
a movie that it's a movie. Saying it's a good movie might be overselling it. It's I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but it's a movie with cool ideas and moments. But there are
Yeah,
some weird stuff that just sticks out like a sore thumb. So I would
yeah,
say this is a
exactly.
movie that didn't live up to its potential.
Hmm. So now let's talk about our little David here, Dread. Now, what did you think of Dread?
Dread. Okay, I will have to give you a simple version. I think Dread is
Better.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the better movie.
It's
But
the best. It's the Slayer. It's the Slayer of our little verse battle. I hate to say it, Sylvester. You know what my friend said? You said it best. You said Judge Dredd is a Judge Dredd movie. Sylvester, Sylvester Stallone's Dredd is Sylvester Stallone's Dredd.
yeah,
It's true, right? Like exactly how you kind of said. It's like, yeah, it's wow. It's so like this is the biggest problem we have. We do want to do this where we actually like watch the videos and record us watching the videos and just edit all the funny bits. There are scenes in Dread where we just shut the fuck up and watch the movie. Like we
yeah,
got quiet and just sat there and watched it. That's a good movie. That's when you say, yeah, we got ourselves a great movie. And it's funny, like if you let's break down the actors. Now, Sylvester Stallone Dredd versus our lead Dredd. Which one did you like better?
hmm. I have to be honest. I think the other Dread is better.
He is. It's funny. A friend of mine said it best. Another friend of mine said, actually, no, it was you too. You said this as well when we were watching. You said, if this was a younger Sylvester Stallone and they did more of a quieter character and just did it like this would be a better movie. And I think you're right. I actually do think you're right. A younger Sylvester Stallone would have done this movie right. A newer, an older, I want my fame. I have to have the mask off every day of the week. And you gotta see Sylvester Stallone. Yeah. And it is kind of right. Like this was a good movie for that. And like he is generally intimidating. Remember the scene where with the little kids? Like that scene with the little kids where he's like, why? He just turns around and the kid's like, what? Yeah, why would I worry about it? Your safeties are on. And then the kids are like, take their safeties off. And Dredd is like, your choice, kids, juju beans or body bags, which one? And it's like, he'll kill those kids. If they even flinch toward those triggers, those kids are dead. And he would have and it would be like, well, I had to kill him. He was still nice enough to put it on stun, but if those kids had made that decision, it's game over. Which makes this, like I said, which makes the world really intimidating. How like what can you say about our lead dreads?
Well, like I said, Stallone was a big star, and he still is a big star. So obviously he's bigger than the character. The other actor, obviously, I don't know much about him. I like if I don't even remember his name, and if you told me he
Yeah,
was in this and that, I'd be like, oh, that guy.
yeah,
Actors today don't have that power to, at least for me, they don't
yeah.
draw me in the way Stallone did. So that's why I
Mm,
can look at the new Dredd as Dredd, because the actor
mm,
has no connection with. I have no connection to him to anything he's done. I had
yeah,
no I have no image of him. Stallone, I know who Stallone is, so I'm always going to see Stallone in the new one, in the old one.
yeah.
Sorry.
In the old one, yeah, exactly. And the funny thing is he could have done it. Uh, it is kind of funny. Let's break down our leading ladies. What did you think of our leading ladies? We had
Um,
Psychic Girl and Hershey. Funny thing is I don't know Psychic Girl's name, but I thought she was the better actress than the woman who played Hershey.
um, yeah, definitely the new one is better in my opinion. The
Yeah,
overall
she
the
is
characters were definitely better in the new one, and the
better.
acting was
Yeah, they
better.
were,
Just about everything was better. But the reason why it's
except
so
for the
hard to
effects.
what?
except for the effects. The old school Dread had such a bigger budget; it just looked better in that way, right?
Yeah, it had its moments of choppiness, but the original Dread had obviously was a much bigger movie. It had a lot more set
Mhm.
pieces. It had a lot more action. The other one was kind of like an introduction to the characters, so it kept itself stuck in one location for the majority of the movie.
Yeah, which also worked for it. Worked, didn't it? Like that's the funny thing. It really did work to the movie's advantage. Like you really, they used that entire environment from start to finish, and you could tell they used that environment. Like they blew up bits and pieces of it. It was all over the place at the end.
Yeah.
And for better or worse, right?
I don't know. It's like
So
this movie, the original there's no. You have to be honest. The new one is definitely a better movie, better acted, better written.
yep.
In my opinion, despite
Well, it's
being a
based.
much simpler
Yeah,
movie. The
it,
original
it
was a
is.
revenge
That's
story, but it had this arc of where he goes into the
yeah,
desert and he's trying to prove his
yeah.
innocence, and he's got his brother wants to take revenge on him
Too
because
much,
he.
right? It was just too much, and then you had too much. And it really does lose itself in the movie, doesn't it? If you think about it,
Yeah,
if you had taken a lot of that out and just made it about some corrupt guy, took out the whole Rico storyline. Although the villain was interesting. And let's break down the villains. What did you think about Mama versus Rico? Other than everyone's favorite little meme. Huh?
well, you can't talk about Rico without bringing that up because that was such an iconic and meme.
Onic.
It was iconic. It's memed a lot. I mean, it's got like
No.
nah.
Sounds like he's like taking.
No,
You know. Go ahead.
it's no contest. again, Mama is the better villain, but she
It
doesn't have a
is.
law.
Yeah, he's not hamming it out. Yeah, her idea of law is like this low spit at the camera. She kind of seems to spit at the camera. A lot of the times she seems half awake, or she just seems like she's just trying to plan everything ahead. So let's break down the action. What did you think of the action compared to both movies?
Mm, the action, the action. Okay. Um, I mean the original was more fun. It was a there was a lot of chases. There was a lot more. Yeah, it had car
Campiness.
chases. It had more campiness. Definitely, it had a Terminator in there.
Yeah.
But the other one was just a straight up bloodbath of bullets hitting people.
You know what? That's the funny thing about that one. That one did it. That one, I even though it is actually more of a grindhouse movie, it is more. You find yourself more. You find yourself having more fun with that one, like the newer movie, because it's so vile. And I kind of like that about it. It was just like they just had the right way of doing it. And they did such a great job. And it just like the action scenes, the characters, it it was way more violent. Some of the effects, now that's what we got to get to. The effects for both movies. Both movies had effects, but can we be honest? The one with the lower budget, and I hate we sound like we're choosing the underdog. Like at least it sounds like I'm choosing the underdog for being the underdog. But no, it had good effects for what budget it had. Like I thought it looked really good. I like the grindiness. I like the fact that it's done in a very grindy film thing compared to the other one, which is done in a more Hollywood style.
Yeah,
What about you, Dark? What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like it's like it's like the first movie was trying so hard to appeal to the masses that it felt ashamed that, oh wait, oh look, but there's characterization, there's revenge,
Yeah.
there's a story about family. This The second one was like, yeah, it's just a comic book movie about people getting shot and killed, and that's what we're gonna
Yeah.
give you.
Well, no, it's not even that. It's just a comic book movie about a comic book hero. About a he's not even a hero. See, that's the funny thing. Dredd is not a hero. He does not see himself as anything but a lawman, and that's it. So it's hard to kind of sell him as, oh no, Dredd's no, Dredd, no. He doesn't even see himself that way. Like if you were to say this is a superhero, Dredd would be like, why would you call me that? Like he would look at it, he would look at you saying you're the one at fault for doing that, not me. Like that's how Dredd is. Dredd was this dark, gritty villain, or sorry, dark, gritty hero, and his comics are done in that style. And apparently, there was a lot of input from the actual creators on this movie. So that's a on the Dredd movie, from what I've heard, that there was a lot of input. They wouldn't let him remove his mask no matter what.
Yeah, I heard that was one of the complaints of the original movie, that Dredd never takes off his helmet, which I say,
No,
well, again, Stallone, he's bigger than the character. Why would you have Stallone in a movie and not show his face?
I'll tell you, he was base. Well, again, they did that with Suicide Squad recently, but
So
I
in a
think they
way,
did that.
I
Mhm.
guess you could say that maybe Stallone playing the character is was kind of miscasting, because
It
he's
was. It
he
really was.
yeah, he's bigger than the character could ever, especially at the
He's
time, could ever have hoped to have been.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And a character that was somewhat unknown at the time. No one really knew what Judge Dredd was until. That now I will admit, Dredd Judge Dredd got me to read the comics, and I was very surprised at how different they were when I read the few comics I was able to get my hands on. I might one of these days actually pick up a whole comic collection, but right now I'm not interested in spending the money. Maybe in 10 years from now. Now, here's the biggest question. You said it. Judge Dredd does not make, Sylvester Stallone's Judge Dredd does not make you want to read the comics. What about Dredd? Does
Dread
that make
does.
you want to? Yeah. So that's the big thing. Like, so how do you want to rate these two movies? So what do you figure? What do you want to rate these?
Ooh.
Compare from two.
I mean, Dread is definitely an
Well,
eight.
we'll count them. We'll count them as movies as like we'll count them versus each other, and then movies as a whole.
Well, that's what I was actually doing. The latter out as a
Oh, okay.
whole. The second one is an eight. Uh,
Mhm.
Original Stallone Dread is a six.
Yeah, about same for me too. I
It is
would say it's a
funnier.
seven.
I will.
Yeah,
Stallone Dread is definitely a funnier movie because it's got Rob Schneider in it.
yeah, and Rob Schneider. That's another one that takes a lot. A lot of people did not like Rob Schneider in that movie.
I thought it was
Oh,
funny.
he has his moments, but that's the problem. I think he's better as an actual comedian. I've seen some of his stand up. His stand up is actually a little funny. Him himself, oh no.
Hmm. I can't comment. I don't. I haven't seen him as a comedian. I only know him as little bits and
Deuce
movie
Bigelow.
parts. But I liked him here.
Yeah.
I that I can say for certain.
Yeah, I can see that. But we are, yeah, it's basically it. I would say those are the two best things we can say about those movies. Great movies.
Yeah, I mean, like if you had to recommend one to someone, what
I
would you
would say,
suggest?
I would say, determining on the person, I would say for someone that has kids, Judge Dredd. For someone who wants to watch an adult movie, Dredd.
And what kind of person are you more likely to encounter? A family man or a
Probably
single
the
guy?
Probably a single guy. I would say Dredd would be my pick.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That.
that's all right.
That sounds right. Because, like I said, Stallone was just is bigger than a character. People did not go to watch Judge Dredd. They went to see a Stallone movie
It's a
because
slow
this
movie.
this was a time when the idea of the Hollywood star still exists.
Yeah, they're missing that time, aren't they?
Yeah, who, who goes to watch a Hugh Jackman movie? No, we gotta go. I'm going to watch a Wolverine movie.
Yeah, no, Hugh Jackman still got some fire, but honestly, other than Dwayne the Rock Johnson, I don't know that many people that go to see a movie featuring anybody nowadays. But
That's
that's
true.
another tale. That's another tale for another time. Thank you, everybody, for hearing us. I hope this makes you pick on your decision. And overall, we got to say one thing and one thing only. Yes, the Dredd movies are both equally good in some ways, but the comics are also very good. If you get a chance, look them up. I believe they relaunched Judge Dredd recently. They actually did a whole new relaunch. So do yourselves a solid and enjoy yourselves some good comics if you can. Enjoy yourselves some good movie. Please like, sub, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the next one, which is going to be Sylvester Stallone, The Specialist.